Saturday is where our attention falls right now. The second of the qualifying finals, the Melbourne Storm, the minor premiers, playing host to the Cronulla Sharks. And Gal, if any team knows how to beat Melbourne in Melbourne, it's your old team. They did it earlier this year.
They've done it this year. Got a decent record over the years down there. Look, they've got Nicho Hynes. He's obviously a former Melbourne Storm player, so he's a bit of an insight there as well. And no one gives the Sharks a chance. So I just think that they've got no pressure on them. And
it's a bit of siege mentality going on with the Sharks.
100%, and it's been that way all year. So I haven't been overly concerned about it. I know there's probably a few people within the club are probably not overly happy that they don't get the credit they deserve. But at the end of the day, they've been inside the top four all season. I don't think they've slipped outside the four at all. So they've been terribly consistent all year, which is fantastic. Exactly what you need to do. They've finished where they need to finish, and why not? Why can't they get it done?
What was that? You mentioned at the top, Gus, about that win yesterday over Manly for the Sharkies. What was your read?
That was really impressive yesterday. That was as good as I've seen them go. And that was a difficult one. Now, there might be a story in this because the result didn't really matter to the Sharks. There was no pressure in that game for them, which meant they were able to go out and just freewheel and play their football and everything like that. Maybe it's the internal pressure they put on themselves at times, or the pressure of expectation, or the pressure of scrutiny, or the pressure of past performances. You know, we all think going to the finals for the last 2 years and bowing out is good experience. Is it bad experience for them? Does it bring back bad memories? Does it conjure up, feelings of anxiety? Or are they able to freewheel like they did yesterday? Because they were never going to lose yesterday. There aren't too many teams that go to Brookvale Oval and score 40 points on a Sunday afternoon against Manly, particularly the way they're going. They beat the Bulldogs by 40 the week before. I mean, it's incredible what they did yesterday afternoon, but they did it with a free spirit and a freedom of anxiety. There was no pressure on the result. Now, this week, where there is pressure on the result, right, even though they're probably not expected to beat the Melbourne Storm, do they freeze up? Do they get clunky? Do they start to overread the situation? Is the game a little bit tighter? It's not sudden death. They know they do get 10 birds of the cherry, but can they free themselves up? Can they just live in the moment and go out and play the football and not be worried about the scoreboard? Let the scoreboard look after itself and just play. It's not easy to do.
They've still got Oregon Kafuzi to come back. Oregon, I reckon, was probably been their best player all season, so he comes back in the side. The Sharks have had a number of injuries this year. They haven't really played with a full-strength side at all. So the fact they're getting everyone back now, everyone fit and healthy, Oregon will come back in this week. I think they're timing things pretty well, the Sharkies. So they go down there, no expectation. Hopefully they get the win. Hopefully they've learned. Look, I think the knock on the Sharks is the fact when they're playing big games, they haven't had a win, which I understand the past couple of years they've been knocked out relatively easily. So they've just got to learn from that, fix it up, get down to Melbourne, hope to get a win, and you never know, one win from a grand final.
Yeah, there's only one way to fix it.
Win.
Go and do it.
I've been saying that. There's been a couple of guys who've been talking about it throughout the year. So, people ask me, I said, mate, just win. That's what you do, win.
What's the biggest learning thing out of that game on the weekend? Why did that just look so free and easy and uncomplicated on the weekend? Because really there was no pressure on the result, only whatever pressure they were putting on themselves. They obviously wanted to win because they went for the full 80 minutes and did it. But if they could play with that freedom of spirit, if they could play with that freedom of anxiety in that game, the way they did it'll be a cracking game against them and the Melbourne Storm, because Melbourne Storm don't fear anything. They just throw the ball everywhere and run around in circles. I mean, they're all over the place. It could be a cracking game, but if they can just go in, Sharks, and play with that sort of mentality and that freedom, they can win.
The battle of the halves too. Nicho Hynes, he's back, and Jerome Hughes, the way he's playing, crikey.
Jerome Hughes, for me, is probably Dalian favourite. He's been so good all season. He's been there and done it all before. Nicho Hynes has still got to prove that. He's been down to Melbourne, won a premiership down there, obviously, but he's come to the Sharks to run the Sharkies team. He's done a very, very good job the past couple of years, but as we keep saying, he's got to do it in big games. He's got to do it in semi-final games, in big moments, and this week's his opportunity to do it against his old club and against Jerome Hughes, who is probably the best halfback in the competition at the moment.
What about the influence of Braden Trindle? Like I feel like he's almost been running a lot of what the Sharks have been doing.
Well, he's been really good. I think he got a lot of confidence out of the fact when Nicho was out. So Nicho missed those 7 or 8 weeks of footy, and he got to run the team around the park and control the team. I think he got a lot of confidence from that. I think Brayley also got a lot of confidence from that. He ran a whole lot more when he was out. So I think the fact Nicho did miss those weeks gave them blokes a lot of confidence. And Nicho's just got to chime in now. Doesn't have to run everything like he was in the past.